And you know who's not going to go to Houston and try to win a title? The Houston Cougars. They're going to go back home and the season's over. Miami's going to have a chance, potentially. The dream is over for the Cougars to win a title in their home city. Miami 89-75 in Kansas City. The Hurricanes shot 52% from the floor in this game. Houston, one of their last 7 shots made in the basketball game. And Miami into the Elite Eight for the second year in a row. This Miami team, we said on Selection Sunday on this set that Miami could make a run.
Yes.
They have made a run. The lone representative of the ACC taking out the lone representative from the AAC, 89-75. We are not sitting here surprised that Miami won this game. Nigel Pack, Kansas State transfer, 26 points. Isaiah Wong, ACC Player of the Year, 20 points. Jordan Miller, 13 points. Their guards are good. Noor Chadomir, been dealing with a little bit of an injury. 12 points, 13 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal. This is not a surprise that Jim Larranaga has taken Miami to the Elite Eight for the second year in a row. So the headline here is that there is no number ones left in the Elite Eight for the first time ever. Ever. Let that sink in. And this has been sort of representative of what has happened in college basketball this season. Upsets aplenty, crazy endings, wild storylines, and we are treated to more madness here in the tournament.
It is a flat landscape in this sport, okay? There have been years in the past, recent seasons, where we've had every season of college basketball unto itself is an opera, right? And there have been seasons with amazing runs of huge upsets, big weekends, ranked teams falling, all these patterns. But once we got to the tournament, normally you'd have a couple of 1 seeds, maybe a couple of 2s, live up to their reputations. Make not just the Elite Eight, but get to the Final Four, get to the title game, win it all. This year felt like there was no elite team. Now, before we played these games on Friday night, a narrative had started to establish that, yeah, UConn can win it all. Have you seen what Gonzaga has been able to do? But for the most part, if this thing plays out the way we think it should, it'll be Alabama versus Houston the first Monday night of April to play for the national title, because those were the 2 best teams. But this is what you get when you have a 68-team tournament that is a semi-random results generator, because Miami has the dudes to match up with Houston. And if you go back and look at what Houston had been over the past few weeks, although it had rated in the big picture as the best team in college basketball, if you narrow that down, if you take the last 7-8 games of Houston, it was not the best team in the sport. It was among the better ones, but it wasn't operating as a top 10 unit. And Miami was the best team in a down ACC. It has future pros on the roster. It has toughness. It has athleticism. It has shooting. It has rebounding. It has dudes aplenty. And what we saw between Alabama going down, the number 1 overall seed, and then the number 1 team in predictive metrics, Houston, was a representative commentary on how even this sport has been this season. The factors for that are aplenty. We are in the middle of the COVID era. You have guys staying an extra year in college basketball that normally wouldn't be afforded that. That means the ball is actually a little bit better. The guys are a little bit older. The transfer portal is also playing a role. Name, image, and likeness is playing a role. I can't promise you that going forward, every single NCAA tournament is going to have as much variance as the one we've had here is, but I do know the amount of excitement and unpredictability that this event provides, guys, is unlike anything in sports. I don't shy away from this. I get it. A lot of people, your brackets are busted. You had Bama or Houston at CBS Sports, a heavy majority, right? Brackets busting. It's all just kindling. Throw it on the pile, right? We're done. But for me, I like this kind of chaos, and Miami is a deserving team. I got thoughts on Larranaga, but I'm going to save it. I got to
Your
pass the ball
reaction here, Tim, because we have no number 1 seeds in the Elite Eight for the first time ever. Alabama goes down at the hands of San Diego State. Houston goes down at the hands of Miami. This is, look, we're not sitting here saying we're surprised. You loved San Diego State. You also liked Miami.
Yeah, I thought Miami was not going to be scarred and intimidated by Houston. You could see in the first couple of possessions they weren't. You know, they had a backcourt that was going to keep attacking this Houston defense. Miami only had 1 turnover in the first half, only had 6 for the game. Akeem, you touched on, shot over 50% from the field, shot over 40% from 3, shot nearly 90% from the free throw line. So hats off to Jim Larranaga. He is playing the new age college basketball game as well as anybody. You're getting transfers. They're paying top dollar. These kids are going out there and delivering, rightfully so. Miami's making a lot of money. Boosters are really excited. People are showing up to the games. But they went out there and they are adapting to the new college environment that is NIL. That's how you get a guy like Nigel Pack, who averaged 15 points a game at Kansas State. He wanted to move on. You get an Arkansas State transfer because this is a great fit for college athletes to maximize this ability. The guards were awesome. Isaiah Wan, we have to mention him. He had to play a big game. He was awful against Drake. Bounced back last out in their convincing win over Indiana, and he kept that momentum going. Mr. Miyagi told Danielson, balance, Danielson, and that is the balance that the Hurricanes had. All 5 starters that came in double figures.
This is impressive for Miami, but I'm not sitting up here saying I'm surprised about Miami because this is a deep roster, and you have a coach who's old school, who has adjusted to the new school, and who has been in this situation with a little school named George Mason, took them to the Final Four in 2006, and it wouldn't be a surprise if Miami gets back to the Final Four. Look, they were stopped in the Elite Eight. They've been in these big games before, and now to take down Houston, what does that say about Jim Larranaga and the program? And Tim touched on it about the way that they're going into this new age of college basketball.
You saw Nigel Pack's stat line there. Nigel Pack famously, it's been almost a year. One of the biggest headlines of last offseason was Nigel Pack going to Miami and it being publicly disclosed that he signed a 2-year, $800,000 name, image, and likeness deal. Guess what? It's allowable. The sport's going to be fine. If anything, we are seeing how NIL is not separating the biggest programs from everybody else. Nigel Pack came up really, really big in this game. They needed him in order to make a second straight Elite Eight because they did not do it with him a year ago. I spoke with Jim Larranaga this week. I wrote a column on him at CBSSports.com. He is building out a resume. If it's not Hall of Fame yet, he might be one win away from it because it's not just that he's the best coach in George Mason and Miami history. It's that if you look at these two programs, when he wasn't coaching there, they have almost no college basketball glory, great success. He is responsible overwhelmingly for the majority of the best years at both George Mason and now Miami. The Hurricanes, back-to-back Elite Eights, and the way that they were able to do it, the way they were navigating in both of these. Remember, a year ago, Auburn was a hot team with the future, at the time thought to be projected #1 pick in Jabari Smith. Miami got rid of them in the first weekend, and here they take out Houston, a very trendy, with good reason, national champion pick. Jim Larranaga has done it his way. He has never done it easily. He has semi-quietly just continued to go and go. And as he told me, he's nowhere close to retirement. This isn't a deal where if Miami's able to win on Sunday, make a Final Four, and wherever this road ends, he's going to step back and say, I've had it. He told me, Matt, I'm not retiring.
How could you retire? He's got great
fire.
Support.
Oh, yeah.
And
yes.
don't get this twisted. The Lakers, Mavericks, and Wizards all have top 10 payrolls in the NBA. They don't have a chance of winning an NBA championship. Okay, not a chance. So you don't necessarily have to go out there. You can't buy a championship. Now, you're going to have to be smart as far as building a team and picking the right guys that fit in with the right system. It's going to be really interesting and fascinating what Rick Pitino does, what Mike Rapoli at St. John's. But if I was an NCAA athlete, if I was a college basketball player still, man, I'd be so much happier. Now I drive a minivan, I have 3 kids. But I would be rooting for Miami because if this ends up working and these deals of contracts, NIL deals do get worked out, if you're a college athlete, you could be sitting really chilly because alumni and boosters are going to go, well, this is how we have to win. We have to obviously go out there and pay these athletes what they deserve, especially with Miami and what they've been able to do. Gene Katie told me this. What did he tell me?
Cash gift. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
He did give me a cash gift.
Right.
But he told me this.
Yes,
he said it's not who you play, it's when you play them. Miami played Houston, and if you go through the last 4, you touched on it.
Yep.
Lose to Memphis, Sasser doesn't play. Northern Kentucky, ugly, but they win. Last out against Auburn, down 11 at half, make this dramatic comeback, and then get run out of the gym tonight. So, Houston was on the other side of the mountain. So, this game, if this would have taken place 3 weeks ago, I think it has a different result. But they caught Houston not at full strength, and they dominated a team that prides itself on its toughness and its defense. They got worked today by the Hurricanes.
One more thing on Larranaga. Now he's got back-to-back Elite Eight teams. This is the 4th time he's taken Miami to a second weekend. He's the portal king. Every single time Miami has reached the second weekend, and we're going back a decade now, 3 starters on every single one of those teams, they were transfers, and this was before it was trendy. This year, you got Jordan Miller by way of George Mason, Nigel Pack by way of K-State, and Norchad Omier, who might be the strongest player left in this tournament by way of Arkansas State. He's done it every single way. He was bringing in 5 stars, and then Miami's program was erroneously attached to the FBI scandal. The program was eventually completely cleared of anything, but they fell 1.5 recruiting classes behind. They dropped back into relevance for a couple of years. Larranaga never stopped walking his path. He never got deterred by this. It's really an incredible story for the U, and they are 1 win away from a Final Four. And Larranaga, if he does this, he might have, I'm saying it again, he might have a Hall of Fame resume now, but if he takes George Mason and Miami, which went more than a decade without a men's basketball program. There was no men's basketball program in Miami in the late 70s into the 80s. If he gets that school to the Final Four, it's going to be amazing.
Well, one of my favorite characters in all of college basketball, Jim Larranaga. You've spent time with him. You know him well. When I covered him at George Mason, this is a guy that's very calculated and a big culture guy. Tim, you always talk about that. He loves to read books. One of the books that he tells his players to read, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. One of the habits, begin with the end in mind. So think about where you can get to. That's what he told me. So that's what I preach to these kids in this program. Think about where you can go. Where can Miami go? Could Miami realistically, could this be a team that wins a national championship? Is that would that be out? Would
after what we saw tonight, Doyle?
Would that be outrageous to think that Miami could win a national championship?
They have the recipe: culture, guards, older guys, experience. I don't know. This is like how I built my bracket, so I'm not surprised at this game at all. I thought Houston deserved a #1 seed. I thought Houston deserved to be favorite in this game. The fact that it was 7.5 was just absolutely crazy. Why not? They check every box. Why not? I mean, yeah, if they have a game where they shoot 3 of 27 from 3, but who would shoot 3 of 27 from 3? Oh, Alabama did. That's why they're not playing anymore. So the way teams shoot the 3, Matt, if you have a night like that, yeah, I guess anything's possible.
In this tournament, anything is possible. Hakeem, can Miami win the national championship? They can. They're halfway there. The first 3 is not easy, but it is easier than the next 3 without a doubt. So they've got everything you would want. They've got big-time shooters. They've got guard play. They've got size down low. They've got coaching. They've got culture. The metrics actually don't love Miami overall, but I've seen this team up close and personal. I just saw them in Albany. They've been tremendous. This is not a stunner to me. I understand a 1 seed going down before an Elite Eight is a surprise, and we've never had an Elite Eight guys without any 1 seeds, so that is surprising. But the way Miami won, I'm not surprised. I am not surprised by this outcome. This is why we love this tournament, man. Are you kidding me right now?
This is great. I love the chaos. The chaos is great. Miami marches on, and Houston heads home, where perhaps Miami will meet Houston in Houston, except they just won't be playing on the basketball court. That was not a quick little dig at Houston, because I loved Houston this season, and I love the storyline about them getting home and trying to win a national championship and becoming the first team since UCLA to win a title in your home city. That, unfortunately, is not going to happen for Houston. Heck of a season, but the season continues for Miami. And you want the madness? We've got the madness. The #1s are done. First time ever, we don't have #1s in the Elite Eight. You can watch the Elite Eight on the March Madness Live app on your phone, your tablet, your favorite streaming device, and then come on back to CBS Sports HQ full highlights and analysis.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.